Hey everyone, this is Curb and I'm bringing you another standard match. Today we have a bit more of a fun kind of matchup, because on the left we do have Luquier, a deck I have not actually represented thus far, a deck all the way from BT8. And of course I am avoiding talking about the elephant in the room, which is myself on the right, playing Dragontree. Of course, considering how much I love the nation of Stoicheia, I had to build the Stoicheia variant, which in my opinion is probably maybe the better of the two variants. I mean, right now you can only build Dragontree in basically two different ways. You either go Dark States or you go Stoicheia. That's just the only thing that's really viable at the moment. But we did actually get a lot of support in BT10, and a lot of it is indirect Dragontree support. So we're going to be testing it out today, see how well it does, and see if it can actually take a W for once. But we are seeing Luquier just doing a little bit of rushing, calling down a Rising Dragon, opting to not use its goal, which I found a little bit interesting. Calling down a Phallicate and putting a grade 2 into the soul. Now, of course, we are Dragontree, so we cannot actually do very much. So we can't even call down any rear guards unless they are grade 0, because our Vanguard is still grade 0. But we are putting those Calamity cards into the soul, and we decide to swing at the rear guard there, just because, you know, Dragontree is a turn 7 deck, so honestly just like being able to damage deny as much as possible and reduce the amount of aggression that the opponent can throw out does mean that we are going to probably make it easier for us to live until that turn 7. But of course we still have to go through everything else. So anyways, we are riding into that grade 3 Luquier, deciding to counterblast 1 and put a card into soul in order to call out 3 different units with 3 units with 3 different grades. So one of them is going to be that I don't remember what she's called, but she's the grade 2 from Ride Line. And then we also have that one, which is when it's placed on rear, you get a soul charge 1, and then the other one will be getting an extra plus 5k. I think she went back into the soul for half a second, and we're calling down another one of those. And we did also call the starter, which is, you know, that's fine. You can't call another one, so you might as well call the 0. Using the Phallicate to put the order into the soul, which is definitely where you do want to be with Luquier, considering that card is probably the best card of the deck, and if you don't see it, you're not really going to be doing much, because without it, you can't get more than 3 attacks. So we do see a pretty decently big swings coming from both of these columns. Going to be guarding one of the attacks and being pushed to 3. So definitely, I'd prefer not to be at this high damage, but I don't really have a choice. But we do see the superior ride of the Griffagila straight from the deck. And then, thanks to the fact that we Persona Road, we do actually get those 2 Dragontree markers. And of course, we're all going to be putting them in the front row, because we want to be able to make use of their power. So now, unfortunately, I don't think I really have that great of a hand. I think I'll have a lot of triggers and just like a lot of pieces. But we are seeing one of the indirect Dragontree support cards, which is going to be that Dragontree Whelp grade 2, because you get a Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, and now you get a Dragontree marker. So you have more than 4 cards that can actually generate a Dragontree marker, meaning that you can actually hit that 3 Dragontree marker that you need in order to get the extra critical on Griffagila. So things are looking pretty good right now for me. So we do see that Burrow Mushroom is coming on down in order to actually create another 2 plant tokens, and then calling down another copy of the grade 2 wrench in order to search out that second copy of masks and give us our 4th Dragontree marker. So already almost there from our first grade 10 turn, and we're already getting plus 20k to the Vanguard, even though we haven't even Persona Road. So this could be a very strong swing. Now, of course, we can actually use the mask itself in this deck. Of course, we can't use the second skill, but we still can check top 5 and add any Dragontree, which in this deck is going to be either the other copies of Persona Ride, or it can be either of those 2 wrenches. Unfortunately, I am going to be whiffing here, which is deeply unfortunate, because it means that I'm -1, and I'm not going to actually be able to, like, if I need to discard for a PG, that card is one less card that I could discard. But we do see this little cactus dude coming on down. Our Dragontree is going to be swinging for 38. This cactus is actually a really interesting card because if it is on a Dragontree marker, it gets boost, and it can also intercept from the back row. So we're going to get a drive checking into a draw trigger. That would help us a little bit because we did actually, or we're definitely needing a lot more shield than we have access to at the moment. Unfortunately, hitting into a defensive heal there. Kind of interesting that my opponent happens to be playing the counter heal that only works if your opponent's grade is higher than mine. I believe he was playing all 4 copies, which personally, as just like a quick piece of advice, I don't think that's ever a really good idea. You don't ever want to go all in with your heals. I think you should always play at least some vanilla, but I think it's really funny that he happened to be playing against me, which is a deck that heal will always be a 20 card guard against. I mean, theoretically, it's also a 20k guard against Stride deck sets, unless they're going to next stage, I guess, but we don't talk about that. Anyways, actually getting that Persona Ride off, so we're looking to endure a pretty strong turn here, so things are not really looking great for me. Oh, I'm just remembering to banish the Calamity card there, because every time the Griffigalia does swing, you do have to remove one of the Calamity cards, and that is actually not an optional effect, so if you forget it, you do actually have to do it. So just in case that ever comes up, I don't think anyone's ever going to be competitively playing Dragontree, so it's probably not going to matter. We are seeing a clean sweep dragon coming on down here, which is very bad for me because it literally wipes out 15k shield from my board. Now, it does actually give me some soul, which I kind of need, but I honestly already used all the soul that I'm probably going to this match, so the extra soul doesn't really matter for me because of the way I've changed the build, but we are going to be seeing that clean sweep in an extra 15k. But definitely an interesting play here, opting to retire the clean sweep dragon with the Luquier's skill, which I don't really think was a good idea because, you know, that is a 25k attacker, or if you put up front, it's 35. Making a little bit of a misplay here, kind of forgetting that we needed counterblast in order to activate the order card, so we are going to have to stick with those 3 attacks. So that being said, a lot of these attacks are going to be pretty big. The Vanguard itself is going to be swinging for 31, and I believe at this point I wasn't able to draw into any of my PGs, so I am just going to have to take this attack. Unfortunately, my opponent drive checks into a heal trigger, which is pretty unfortunate for me, but at the same time, I do have crit on my Vanguard, so I can quickly catch up on the damage race a little bit faster than maybe some other decks, but at the same time, I don't want this game to be going very much longer, and healing down, it means that it's going to be that much harder for me to close things out. So we are swinging for a 41, and then this Rising Dragon is going to be swinging for a 43, so I am going to have to guard this one, otherwise I'm going to die. I'm just going to choose to guard it with a front and a critical trigger there. I was really hoping for a defensive, but unfortunately it didn't really pan out. But I am going to be starting off with my own Persona Ride, meaning that I'll be able to actually do a lot of things. It would be much better if I actually had one of those Tideline Dragons that went into the damage zone, which I suppose would be a way I could use the soul that he just gave me. But unfortunately, I do not believe I actually am good enough at this deck or this game in order to draw that Tideline, which is just fine. Just trying to decide what I want to do here. Not really a whole lot. I mean, I can push that token up. Looks like I am going to be using another one of the depth squirmers, I think it is, or something like that, or maybe I'm thinking of another card. To get my last Dragontree marker, I'm going to be searching the deck for up to 1 Mask of Hydreigon, but since I only play 2 in the deck, I'm going to search for 0, and then basically just shuffle the deck a little bit. So we're calling down. Ooh, I did actually have a Tideline. I am a good player. Whoa. But calling down another Cactus and then using a Tideline Dragon to give an extra 10k to my other rear guard units. So these attacks are actually going to be hitting for pretty big numbers, and the Vanguard is going to be having that critical. So we'll see how my opponent deals with this. That Vanguard is 56 by itself. Even if we didn't have the Persona Ride, I think that would solely be a 48k column. So unfortunately, a very terrible drive check of the 2 Dragontree wrenches, and of course we happen to hit into another defensive. So if I want to actually close this game out this turn, I would have to hit both of these attacks, which is probably not going to be happening considering the size of my opponent's hand and the fact that this column is in itself only 45. So probably not going to be able to close things out here. I did consider attacking into the rear guards, but given the fact that honestly I don't think that, well, there's the rear guard. There's a point to be attacking into the rear guards, but my opponent already has enough CB to do all of his plays, so I don't think it really matters. We just did give him 2 CB, which is technically all he really needs, 1 for the Luquier and 1 for the order itself. So giving him that 1 extra counter blast is not really going to make that much of a difference. But this Persona ride is honestly probably just going to seal the deal, as we're using Luquier's skill to counter blast 1, put a card from hand into soul, and then we got to call up to 3 cards with different grades. Going to be calling that grade 1 and the grade 3 and the grade 0. That grade 1, I don't think I mentioned it last turn at all, but it does get 5k when it is placed from the soul and an extra skill, which I do not remember at the moment, but it's not really going to matter because we do see the Luquier order being played, giving the skill to the Rising Dragon. And of course, I think we actually even countercharged with the grade 3, so it extra didn't matter that I didn't damage deny. But this Rising Dragon's going to be swinging for 30k. I'm going to be double or is it 30k? Oh yeah, I think it should have been 30k. I think my opponent said 20k because he forgot about the extra 10k that Rising Dragon gets whenever 3 units are called from Soul. And then this Rising Dragon that's coming on out is going to be getting an extra 20k in addition to the Persona ride. So honestly, I had almost no shield value left in my hand, so there's realistically no way I could even live through that without 2 heals. But that is going to be the end of the match. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to do those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.